and welcome to the Villain Stock Show. I am C4, one of your hosts. With me, obviously, is Sara Vike. Lovely summer dress. I think that's a dress. I'm just going to say
dress, yes.
Beside her is the disheveled Insanieac. And in the aether is Sir Jeremy. And with us today is our guest. I'm going to call him Panther because that's a sick name. Is Panther, and he's our guest today because today we're talking about something that we've kind of beaten around the bush on this show a few times. We're talking about aliens, and Panther here is not an expert or anyone. He's just one of those people, just like us, who just researches on the internet, look at the information we get, and form our own opinions on aliens. And just before we get to you, Panther, I just wanted to say thank you to all our followers for following. If you want to catch older things of our podcast, we're available on all things that you can get podcasts on. If you want to watch older videos, they're all on YouTube. And on Sundays, we do 2 shots. Other than that, why don't we start with you introducing yourself? That's you, Panther.
Sorry. Okay, yeah. I was born in Canada. Lived in Australia for 40 years now. I love it over here. I do want to come back to Canada soon now. But yeah, aliens. I was lucky. I was born a skeptic and a cynic. I was born that way. When I was a little kid, I was sent to Sunday school. And I said, who wrote this? Did Dr. Seuss write this? I read all of Dr. Seuss's books and looked like another Dr. Seuss book to me. So I didn't believe that. I didn't believe a word of that. I never did. And anyway, over the years, I've seen a few things, and I've heard stories and all that. And one of the best things, I posted on your site there last night, the Terra Papers. That's by Robert Morningstar. He's an original American. And back in the 50s, a spacecraft crashed near his grandparents' village. And an alien came out and spent a couple of weeks in the village before the military came along and found him and took him away. So it's a 3-hour story about humankind and why we're here and why it all started. I believe it. I believe it because you look at many other sources around the world and they come to the same thing, that humans were created out of a advanced ape created to mine gold for the aliens. Not the Anunnaki. Well, we call them the Anunnaki. They needed it for the atmosphere around their planet. Their planet was in danger, and they needed anatomical gold in the atmosphere to save the planet. So they came here, started in Africa, and they developed us, gave us some of their DNA to mine for gold, and that's why we're here. We've been slaves ever since. As Robert Morningstar tells you, the Palladians, they're nice people. They came over here, they started it all, but they used the reptilians the Syrians, the reptilians, to build the pyramids, to do all this stuff. And when the Palladians left, the reptilians said, look, we built all this. Can we run the world? And they said, yeah, fair enough. So ever since then, we have been ruled by reptilians. The Queen of England, she's a reptile. I don't know if any of you realize that.
You're a little late.
I was going to say, that's in my family, too. They're part of the lizard shape-shifting reptile people.
Cool. Obama, the Yanks, Obama, he was reptilian. So a lot of famous people are reptilians, and they're nasty. They are very, very nasty. And we've been their slaves for 6,000 years, or ever since. We've been their slaves. All through society, all the rule of all the money goes back to reptilians. It goes back to the Black Pope in the Vatican, and then the royal family and whatnot. So we've all been their slaves. That's all good. That's going to end soon.
A little bit of evidence that he was one of the first successful Alien series where the aliens were the bad guy was V, and that was the reptiles.
So,
if you've ever seen V, V is about aliens. So there's a series called V. It's an old sci-fi series, and it's about a bunch of reptile aliens coming down, wearing our skin, and convincing us to do exactly that, mine for their planet.
Yeah, okay. Well, almost every movie we get out of Hollywood is true. They're telling us the truth. They're hiding it, but they're sort of, this is the truth. And one of the rules, one of the intergalactic rules is that they're allowed to come to a planet. They're not supposed to interfere with us. If they do interfere with us, they're not supposed to hide it. They have to do it out in the open. So if you look at Disney, Walt Disney and all that, all their satanic symbols, you look at there's satanic symbols all through Hollywood, all that. They're not hiding it. They're sort of showing it a little bit, just enough.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of
Keep them.
So, what's your opinions on, let's say, back in the beginning of 2020, when that retired Israeli general released that there's a base on the dark side of the moon, and he said that there's actually trying to integrate as part of a galactic federation. So, what's your how does is that trust trying to indoctrinate us further? Would you say? Is it?
Well, it was about 20 years ago, as a Canadian defense minister. He came out and said that there's aliens and all that, and he said something about the moon. I don't know if you remember that. I can't remember his name. Yeah, the moon is actually fake. It's hollow. On the other side of it, there is a city. Apparently, NASA did send some probes to the other side of the moon, and it showed a city. All the astronauts will admit, quietly, privately, that they saw aliens when they were up there. They admit to it. And why we haven't gone back to the moon is the last people that went close to it, they were told, don't come back. You're not ready.
So why gold?
So
why gold?
Don't know how
I've
you...
heard gold before. I've actually heard that gold is a rare substance. So I know because I've heard theories that gold is actually an extremely rare substance just because it has to be made through like a star exploding or something. I can't. Don't quote me on that. I don't know that.
So it's like along the same ideas as diamond, right? Diamond can only be created under pressure.
Yeah. So why gold? Why did they ever explain why gold? Why do they need?
Oh no, they never did. Now gold is of course a lot more common than diamonds. Gold can get formed with, you've got a hot liquid below the surface, very hot liquid. It's moving between all the, wherever it moves, all the weaknesses. Comes across, say, a sandstone or something, it can pour through there quite easily. It goes where it can easily, and it finds veins or fractures between solid rock. It finds those, and it travels up between these fractures. And then when it cools down, that's when your gold gets left behind. So gold is very, very common. And I don't know why they need it in the atmosphere. I really don't know. But we have sent tons and tons of gold.
I'd imagine it's
there.
probably for its chemical breakdown for some reason.
I don't know, but it's got to be monatomical, and it's something to do with their atmosphere. There's a question there. I just can't remember what the question was.
So you also mentioned different kinds of alien species. I wrote that down. So
yeah.
So are you suggesting, or at least the people you've been reading, are they suggesting that there's like, I don't want to say like a coalition? Are they all enslaved underneath each other? Is it a giant chain of enslavement? How do you perceive that?
Okay, there's a great KGB report came out naming and showing photos of about 46 different types of aliens. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, beautiful. And some of them were very, very scary. Now, I don't know if you've heard of the Nordics. They're human. They're beautiful. I want to marry one of them women. They're absolutely just like tall, blonde, blue-eyed.
Human races.
Yeah. They're nice. They're very, very, very nice. They're the ones trying to help us. Your lizard people, they're evil. They're draconian lizards. They eat humans. They live below the surface, about a kilometer or so below the surface. They've been in these, have you heard of the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases?
Nope.
Heard of those?
Okay.
Okay, look that up on Facebook or Google. DUMBs. They're all over the world, all over Canada, all over the States. There's huge underground tunnels that connect cities. And all across, and in fact, these tunnels go from continent
driving through those tunnels.
And they go from continent to continent. They've been there a long, long time.
There's been truckers that have gone through those.
Your largest gold miner in the Africa. I forget who it is, but one of their geologists has come out and said that when they're doing their mining, they come across old tunnels that are hundreds of thousands of years old. And absolutely brilliant built.
I've heard of the piping that's hundreds of thousands of years old, for sure.
Heard of what?
I've heard of the piping in China, but I've never heard of no underground tunnels. That what'd you say, Insanieac? There's truckers that go through there.
Yeah, there's been videos of truckers going through these through YouTube that they've driven through like hundreds of miles across these tunnels. They go for a while, man. Some of them link to like Walmart and other weird crazy shit. Like they're pretty long. Like they've literally gone from one country to or one continent to.
About the same thing?
I think they're definitely statewide. They've gone across through like you could literally travel across for at least 4 to 5 states while you're underneath these things.
Absolutely, and yeah, absolutely.
They did a documentary about that like 10 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, okay, hang on. Whoa. Wait, we have and we've had for a long time tunnel borers where they'll dig a tunnel, they'll do a couple of kilometers in a day. They use technology that we supposedly don't have yet. They actually melt the rock into a liquid form, and it leaves behind a beautiful, perfect walls, absolutely flat, smooth. And they'll do a few kilometers in a day. They're using nuclear power and lasers and stuff, and they just fly through it. And so over the first thing Donald Trump did when he got into office was the next day he went to the CIA and he demanded that they end human trafficking all around the world. That was the first thing Trump did. And they've been doing that since. They've been blowing up these dumps. They've been rescuing thousands of children from these dumps. Thousands. And it's still ongoing. They've done it in Australia. They've done it in China. All over the place. Now, in the U.S. alone, 30,000 people go missing a year. 30,000. Most of those are children. Where do they go?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys have heard of it and that sort of stuff.
Vancouver's human trafficking is starting to get to Calgary now, right?
Oh, it's been there.
Well, now they're actually telling you to beware about it and like be cautious of your surroundings. I've seen the warnings on the news and shit here in Calgary.
1,000 kids
Really?
abducted into space labor camps.
Yeah.
That's not exactly what that.
I think it's two separate ideas here.
Yeah, but no, they're both true. But a lot of these are going to aliens for them to eat. They're their food. The draconians that live way deep down, that's their food. They're their food. True.
Ever seen recordings of some of these draconians, like on like YouTube and stuff like that?
Yeah. Very scary. Very
I've
scary.
noticed when I've seen a few of them before, there seems to be like there's always some kind of audio issue around the faces.
Yes, yeah. Now, this is all coming to an end. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin and a few other world leaders are working to stop all this. They've been working since they got in, and they're still working on it. Now, apparently, the Galactic Federation, there is a group of aliens out there. Galactic Federation, they're the good guys. They want to help us. And they are helping us. They've actually, in the past, they've disarmed nuclear weapons on Earth. They've done that. They've come along and disarm that. Missiles that would have been fired, they've sent them off course. They're constantly watching us. Now, on the other side of the moon are what we call the Watchers. They're watching us all the time. They don't want to be seen. They don't want us seen.
I do have a question. We always talk about like especially with aliens and stuff like this. Oh, they have us in pens. Oh, they've been watching us. They've been taking us. How do we fight back? Just because, like, obviously knowing this knowledge, as some people like you do, Panther, like knowing all this, say it's all true, okay? Say it's 100% true, and you know all this. How do you fight back? How do you fight back in such an oppressive system that's so interwoven into society?
Well, you start right at the bottom. You start by not wearing masks. They tell you to wear a mask. You don't wear a fucking mask.
Well, what's that got to? Let's say this is 5 years ago, though, before COVID. How would you fight back?
Okay, before COVID. Well, they needed COVID. That's why they brought COVID in, to bring a
I
new
get
world
that, I
order.
get that.
That's yeah.
But like, let's say
Um,
the world woke up 5 years ago. How would we
Yeah.
truly fight back if we're being oppressed so hard by intergalactic species?
Don't know. I really don't. Just start from the bottom and work your way up. Now, everything. So many parts of our life are illegal. For example, our government is illegal. Your government is illegal. You don't belong there. Everything that's set up is illegal.
I find a lot of things come down to fear. It's being afraid of what you can
Exactly.
do and what you.
They want us in fear. Okay, so we're
Easier to manipulate when you're afraid and you're
Absolutely.
driven by your emotions.
absolutely. Now we're in 3D. I don't know if you guys are into this 3D, 5D, all that sort of stuff, but we're in 3D.
I don't know anything about that.
And fear keeps us there. We're supposed to be ascending into 5D. When you're in 5D, we get back all the powers we used to have. We used to have telepathy. We used to have all sorts of magic. We've lost all that. When we go back to 5D, we'll get that all back.
Sorry, just to check, by by the 5D and 3D, you do mean like dimensions, right? Like 3D as in three-dimensional?
As in vibration.
Perceivable vibration dimension.
As in
Okay.
vibrations. Yeah, correct.
Every atom vibrates at a certain frequency.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's how structures are built and held together, right? At an atomic level. And when they
It's really-
vibrate at a certain frequency, you can see it, essentially.
Because nothing is solid. Nothing is solid at all.
Yeah, right.
Thing is-
Atoms, they never touch together at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you took all the empty space out of a human being, you'd have massive 1 gram of rice.
Yeah.
Because we're very little. We're mostly air. We're just
And when you're
all these
when you're
atoms.
afraid and emotionally driven, you vibrate slower.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So humans on Earth, we're supposed to be ascending to 5D. That's our purpose. And some of us came back to Earth here and now to help humans ascend to 5D. A lot of planets in the universe have already done that, and they're helping us do that. And we're in the process of doing that as we speak now. Now, I was told there's a few things. Have you guys heard of polar reversal?
No.
That happens every so many millions of years. We're about 30,000 years overdue for one. That's where your North Pole is constantly, your magnetic is constantly moving.
When it reverses
Yeah,
the magnetic
yeah.
forces.
Okay.
Yeah. But you're not
Gets
supposed
to
to
a
be able
point
to
where-
tell because the magnetic forces, because it just reverses. Oh, I guess. No, I thought you're not supposed to be able to tell.
No. Your magnetic east magnetic north is always constantly moving to the east, constantly. Every year it moves. So it'll get to a point where it'll just go, just like that. It'll just snap. When that happens, we have enormous amount of volcanoes, earthquakes, global catastrophe. So it could wipe out millions or billions of people.
Well, there's
When this
the
happens.
small scientific truth, like in everyday science, to that is they're claiming that because we spin on an ellipsis, our north isn't always our north anyway. That's why they found remains of fossilized tropical trees here in Alberta and in our Northwest Territories. This used to be a tropics.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, all of Australia used to be covered in trees. Now most of it's desert.
Yeah.
Told that. So we're in the midst of one now. It's already started. This reversal. So it could be it could be absolutely detrimental to the planet. It could stuff up the planet. I was told by a lady that if this did happen, they're there to help us. Big ships will come down to bring us up into the ships. And what you want to do is stand there like a cross with your arms out like that. And that's easier for them to bring you up into the ship. And then you go into the ship, spend some time up there, and then at the end they'll decide either you want to come back to the planet Earth and rebuild it, or you can go somewhere else and live your life somewhere else. That'll be the choice. That'll happen if we do have that catastrophe with the global reversal.
One thing that I also heard with some aliens that are telepathic, a CIA declassified file I ended up reading talked about how this one person who had originally a first connection with one of the aliens, I think was a nurse, and she explains in detail why she was one of the few that only could communicate with it because many of the other humans were afraid and looking to study it and dive into its like personal space instead of just trying to be friendly and understanding and open to what's around you. So that fear of them made it so they couldn't understand any of the other people couldn't understand what was happening with this one creature. Only this one person could. It was a nurse because that's pretty much her job is to empathize and to care, right? And it helped her have that connection for I think like 2 months. And they had like a study going on with her, and then one day it just left. It left its body.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was told that we're a very, very special planet. Amongst all the planets in the universe, ours is special. It's like a zoo. We've got the best animals and the best plants from all over. And we're supposed to be like a special zoo here on this planet. So anyway, the Alliance, Global Galactic Alliance, they're here to help us. They're our friends. So they're going to help us against these draconians and all that sort of stuff. And it's going to be very, very good soon. I don't know if any of you are into astrology, but we are entering the age of Aquarius, which is all love, peace, and happiness.
Yeah.
Now, I highly recommend you watch that End of Cabal, which I posted on that site.
Yeah, I think I'd seen parts of that one.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and that's telling you what's happening now and in the near future, and why it's all going to be very, very good. But anyway, so we've got these nasty aliens that eat people, and we've got these nasty people that work for them, like the royal family and the Pope, Black Pope, and all that sort of stuff.
But we have good
They're
aliens.
I mean,
From what I've been listening, there are good aliens that are trying to help us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
there's full of life in any species, right? There's predatory and non-predatory.
Well, I would assume it's like humans, right? We're varied. Not all of us are exactly good. Not all of us are evil either. So I would assume other beings would be the same. If evolution holds true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, immensely advanced
I
evolution.
guess the question I didn't get would be, how can you tell the difference? Like someone like me who has no idea. I've like that's like I watched your videos and stuff, but still, like all this is catching me extremely off guard. So, like, how would I be able to identify? How could I look at someone and would I be able to? Is the disguise that good?
Yeah, disguise is very good, brilliant.
To my knowledge, they do have like some level of cloaking certain things, like when it comes to vehicles or personal space. So it's hard to identify something like that.
You should be able to feel it in your heart, in your intuition. That should tell you. That should be enough to tell you. Most people don't ignore their intuition, but intuition is greatest form of intelligence that we have. I don't know if you guys
It's something
realize
I've been trying to attune to a lot more in my life. It helps a lot with
because
feeling
instant
what other
thought,
people
we're just,
are about. Sorry.
yeah. So you ask me a question right now, and I'll just tell you what's on the front of my mind. Whereas intuition, that goes back to what I've learned decades ago.